Hello, fabulous superstar Gemini. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of June 2023. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological month, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now, and this is a very special time. Now, right out of the gate, we do have a full moon taking place in your opposite sign on the 4th of the month. This full moon in your opposite sign is going to be part of a grand trine in fire. We have Mars and Chiron speaking in supreme harmony with this particular full moon. It adds that much more energy and intensity and intention to this moment. However, there is a difficult alignment with Saturn that is all about evaluating your sacrifice and evaluating commitment. Now, considering this is a full moon in your opposite sign, it illuminates a key partnership in your life. It could be a business partner or a professional alliance, but you're seeing it or being invited to see it differently in some way. You're being invited to consider what has been, how effective this partnership has been, and whether or not it's still working for you. The great thing is there is an energy here of understanding and healing where there has been misunderstanding. So that's very exciting. And there's a sense of agency and excitement for what could be at this time as well. There are going to be a percentage of Geminis who, as part of their honest evaluation, are able to turn away from certain alliances, also simultaneously turn towards others. For others still, this is going to be a time of figuring out how you're going to work with someone and work through whatever feels like a challenge. And in doing that work, you end up making tremendous gains. Now, your circumstances are going to be uniquely your own. And as I say, it is so important to do what it is that feels right for you to do in light of your unique circumstances. There is that sense of sacrifice here. So whether it is that you're walking in eyes wide open as to the sacrifices that have been worth it and what haven't been worth it, it can be a time of a new understanding and an enthusiasm of what could be ahead. Now, navigating further, it is on the 18th of the month that we have a new moon in your sign. Normally, you get one new moon per year, and this is your moment. This is remarkable and remarkably important as well. This new moon suggests a brand new beginning for you that is deeply meaningful to you. The new moon is speaking in a conversation of tension with Neptune, but also speaking in a quick moving, although somewhat challenging conversation with Pluto as well. Now, you add to this the fact that the following day we have a beautiful alignment happening between Jupiter and Saturn, an important peak moment of the larger Jupiter in Taurus, Jupiter moving through the sign just before yours transit that we began last month, and I talked about it to you then. Now, having said that, that beautiful Jupiter Saturn energy is about career success that just shows up, blessings that feel like they come out of nowhere. And it is about an inner faith, an inner stability that you are going to be okay, that there is a higher, more loving vision for your life, and it is unfolding as it should. The new moon itself, though, as I look at this, I feel a few things. One is that sometimes we don't always know what's good for us, and we may invest a whole lot of ourselves in a particular direction, and it is only when it is obvious that it isn't working that we get the message from the universe that maybe that pathway isn't for us. But also sometimes people quit way too soon. And one disappointment shouldn't stop you from doing what it is that you really feel in your heart of hearts represents you and what you've been called to do. This is part of the dichotomy of this time. Chances are, whatever shows up, it feels like it comes up quickly. It may feel unfair or that you wish things were different. And yet there's an element there of disappointment as well. You can work through it, and especially considering that beautiful alignment between Jupiter and Saturn, There is an inner stability within you that's able to see with eyes of faith, able to understand the big picture that's going to help you to navigate this time. It becomes very important to practice self care under the light of this new moon. The square of Neptune can suggest disappointment in something that really mattered to you. But you are one of the signs where, if you are someone who is given to emotional fluctuations, this is one of those energies where you're going to have to be particularly mindful of that to make sure that you're practicing the best of care of you, as it can feel like emotions fluctuate in some way. There can be real events that feel disappointing. I'm sorry to say, but it does happen. Or this can be a time when there's nothing particularly disappointing taking place. It's sort of within you. Maybe you think you should be feeling different, for example. Whatever comes up, remember, it comes and it goes. You address it and you're able to release it. There's so much that's so good this month that deserves more of your focus. That when it is that you're in a moment of considering new beginnings that are on offer, strive to stay true to you. The new beginnings can be very strong and really beautiful, but it does require that perhaps you look beyond a particular illusion or past or present disappointment to understand whom it is that you are and what you most want to do next. Now, speaking of Jupiter, I also want to add that at the very beginning of the month, right out of the gate on June 1st, we have an important peak moment as part of the Jupiter in Taurus cycle. And this is Jupiter meeting the North Node in the sign just before yours. This energy is operational in the first days of this month, powerfully so. This is all about karmic connections, karmic contracts, but the beginning of fortunate closures as well. Sometimes the blessings are obvious right away, it's evident. Sometimes not so much. And yet, this is one of those energies where, in the fullness of time, you will realize how much shifted for you now. Again, whether it's the fulfillment of karmic contracts or the closure of karmic contracts, the seed starts now as part of unleashing great blessings into your life and navigating forward from here. Where it comes to matters of love, that is an important focus, especially right out of the gate for a couple of reasons. Of course, that full moon in your opposite sign is going to speak in the context of love for all Geminis out there in one way or another. But what we also have happening the day after the full moon, on the 5th of the month, Venus moves into a communicative part of your sky. Now, normally Venus spends about 4 weeks to a month in a sign once a year, going all the way around the zodiac over the course of a year. This time, Venus, as she steps into this part of the sky, will be here for 4 months. And when you hear that extended Venus transit, it means retrograde. We are going to have a Venus retrograde starting next month, but the Venus retrograde season starts now. I'll have a lot more to say about Venus retrograde in and of itself, but I did speak about it in the year ahead horoscope as well. I will link to that below. But I did want to call your attention to this energy. We're at the beginning of an unusually long time where mind and heart are intimately connected for you. Pay attention to what is taking place for you in regards to mind and heart and who you're talking to and how you're understanding love, especially around the 20th of the month. In some way, once we navigate forward and we get to the early days of September, that is when Venus will return to where she is around the 20th of this month, and you will see events differently in some way. So pace yourself and be yourself, as I like to say, but know that it is earlier in the month that the journey actually begins. And the journey begins right out of the gate with Venus standing across the sky from Pluto. There's strong emotion stirring as a result of what is being discussed, information that's coming forward, and maybe even gossip as well. Again, it's always up to you to decide what's right for you to do in light of your unique circumstance. but strong feelings may be stirring as a result. Considering the full moon in your opposite sign, it is a decisive moment in the context of love. For those of you open to meeting someone new, I do feel it's very likely you're going to connect with another person. That connection may come about through communication, like online, for example, or through just having an exchange that stays on that intellectual level. But it ends up stirring something very deeply within you now. At the same time, that particular full moon, boy, its grand trine in fire is all about owning your power to move towards the kind of partnership you want. The connection with Saturn has you honestly evaluating whomever it is that comes into your life, but also looking at your own resistance at this time. As part of understanding the best way forward. I think that even those Geminis, if you haven't done online dating, I would be very surprised you are a Gemini after all. But yeah, even the ones who've been very resistant to it may be surprised at how it is that they're engaging on that level. But the full moon just before that cycle starts, well, it does suggest that you're looking at what has been in love and where you are today and how you feel about it as part of understanding the best way forward for you. For those of you just starting to date someone, what a remarkable time this can be. So, the full moon itself is like decision moment. It's you really looking at this person differently, looking at them honestly as well, and being empowered in the process to make a decision. So, for some, that's going to mean the decision to move towards partnership with this person you've been dating. For others, it's going to mean going in a whole other direction. Either is really okay. Now, ultimately, with this energy, and especially with Venus, you're being invited to communicate with kindness, with love. That doesn't mean being a doormat. That doesn't mean if this person is not speaking to you nicely, you just allow it. Of course not. It is about you deciding what it is that you want to say and to say it in a way that you feel good about. With that opposition to Pluto, things could be said that can't be taken back that feel rather intense. And so just navigate, especially as we have that full moon and the days that follow, just navigate that time in a way that allows you to foster a healthy sense of self love in the process. And for those of you in an established bond, what a remarkable time this can be. Now, in an established bond, the full moon does tend to bring a focus on your partnership of some kind. The overwhelming majority of Geminis are going to find this a time of illumination and truth, but also really talking through the commitment the two of you share, realizing how strong it is. There is going to be a small percentage of Geminis out there, if you have felt for a while that maybe you're not in the right relationship for you. With that square to Saturn, it does suggest an honest evaluation as to a current situation between you and your partner. That very small percent of Geminis who've had doubts, well, it's really about understanding the sacrifices you've made, whether or not they're worth it, whether or not it's worth continuing to make sacrifices or not. A lot will be understood through a key conversation. Emotions will run strong as a result of what it said. But as a result of what is said, ultimately, it helps you to get really clear within you as to what it is you most want to do next. What I love about this month for you, there's so much here. It's a valuable and meaningful astrological moment. I absolutely love how the energy is one that brings you to yourself. That new moon in your sign for this month really is the star of the show. With so much happening now, it is ultimately that new moon that reminds you who you are and gets you in touch with a measure of identity, with clarity. With all that confusing energy, the confusion only magnifies when you allow yourself to go in different directions, not in alignment with some truth about you. But where it is that you strive to have that personal clarity, everything else falls into place as it perfectly should. Well, thank you so much for watching. You can get a video like this each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with Choose Your Membership Rate. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. It'll be a great month. Enjoy.